All right, folks, welcome back for our second segment of The Rock is On. I'm your host, The Rock, and I just finished talking about the Jets, and now I'm going to move on to the other New York football team. The much better football team for this year is the New York Giants, and the Giants. You give head coach Ben McAdoo, a lot of credit. Kudos to Ben McAdoo, because it looked like at one point the Giants' season was going to spiral downward out of control. They were 2-3, coming off a 2-0 start. Things were going downhill. Offense was terrible. Defense was terrible. Couldn't get stops. Couldn't score points. But you know what? The Giants turned it around, and they have won four straight, and they're sitting at 6-3, currently in the fifth seed. They're a wild card team, currently in the fifth seed in the NFC. Washington Redskins are the sixth seed as of now. If the season were to end today, and there's only one thing that you have to ask yourself here, folks. And that thing is, can the New York Giants be a playoff team? Can they be a playoff team? And the way they're playing the last few weeks, there's no disputing that. They can be. They have a two-time Super Bowl winning quarterback in Eli Manning, which most Giant fans are very unappreciative of. You have to admit that. Secondly, you have a great core of wide receivers in Odell Beckham Jr. and Victor Cruz, who was battling some injuries, who's banged up a little, but he'll be back, and a sensational rookie in Sterling Shepard, along with a solid defense. A defense that you put so much money or invested so much money in this offseason with Olivier Vernon, Damian Harrison, Janoris Jenkins, and then drafting a cornerback, an Eli Apple in the first round. So, the Giants, they can be a playoff team. Could really be a playoff team. In a crazy tight NFC wildcard race. Because in the NFC, as of now, you have the Eagles, the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Buccaneers, and then these teams, I'm going to say they're on life support, holding on to their playoff lives, the Packers and the Saints. But I think if the Packers, who play the Redskins in our nation's capital, or Landover, Maryland, technically, if they lose to the Redskins on Sunday, then at 4-6, they're done. You could stick a fork in them. The Saints are 4-5. They play tonight against the Carolina Panthers. I think the Saints will win tonight, and they'll be 5-5, and they'll be right back in the playoff race. But I don't think, when all is said and done, I don't think any of the wild card teams are going to come out of the NFC South. I think it's the Falcons' division to lose. They're going to run away with it late, and the other wild card teams are going to come from the East, North, or West. That's my prediction. But referring back with the Giants, though, you look at their schedule. Currently sitting at 6-3. They have the Bears upcoming Sunday. Then they're at the Browns, at the Steelers. And I thought when the season started, and when you're picking the games, you think they can win. They're going to win this game. They're going to lose that game. I thought the Giants would lose this game in Pittsburgh, but the way the Steelers have been playing, both defensively, and then offensively, couldn't get it going. Always settling for the 2-point conversions, failing to capitalize. And a team, that had a team that had Super Bowl aspirations this year isn't living up to it. So you know what? These next three games are very winnable for the Giants. Very, very winnable. But they can't let their composure down for the Browns game, because they could still be winless going into that game, the Browns, and who knows, they can pull off an upset. But I don't think that'll be the case with the Giants. I think the Giants will take care of business there, and they'll win these next three games if they have the right mindset. So if they win these next three games, they're sitting at 9-3. And you're thinking, they're a lock to be a playoff team. I wouldn't say a lock. Not even at 9-3, they're not a lock. And here's why. They're home against the Cowboys. Here are the last four games. They're home against the Cowboys. That's going to be a Sunday night game. Home against the Lions. And the Lions are no pushover because they've been playing pretty well with Matthew Stafford. And as my bold pick for this season, I picked the Detroit Lions to make the playoffs, and they're living up to the hype. But like I said, Lions are no pushover. They're a good, solid team, good quarterback. Throws, he can turn the ball over here and there, but overall, Matthew Stafford's a franchise quarterback. But that's not going to be an easy game. And then you're going to have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins back-to-back weeks on the road. Philly plays a lot better at home than they do on the road, and the Redskins have been playing well the last month and a half. So, and for the Giants, here are my two key points that the Giants have to do in order to make the playoffs, or what they have to do down the stretch if they want to be considered a playoff team, and who knows, make some noise in the playoffs and go on one of their Super Bowl runs. The G-men have to. I repeat, they have to win on the road. Because, when you're a wild card team, a 5th or 6th seed, you're most likely not going to get a home playoff game. Especially if you're the 6th seed, then you're not getting a playoff game. But it's very rare. I don't think that a wild card team hosts a conference championship game. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the NFL playoffs, or at least during the current format, that is, or even at all. So most likely the Giants are going to have to go on the road and win these games, and they've done it before with Eli. They went to Dallas in 07-08, beat the mighty Cowboys. They were the best team in the NFC that year, and then went to Lambeau Field with frigid conditions when it was like -3 degrees, beat Brett Favre, and then beat the undefeated or 18-0 New England Patriots to pull off the greatest upset, or what I think is the greatest upset in Super Bowl history. So that's what the Giants have to do. That's one thing they have to do. They have to win on the road. And if you look at their schedule, last 2 games against division opponents, both on the road, if you want to be a good team, you got to capitalize on the road and win when the fans are against you and when you're in hostile environments. The Giants have to do that. And if they do that, they'll be a lock to make the playoffs. Now, for my second point, the Giants have to do, or what I think the Giants have to do in order to be a playoff team, other than winning on the road, is they need to establish a running game. Because if you're a fan of the Giants, or you just watch the Giants week in and week out, their running game is just abysmal. Flat out abysmal. And you want to know how abysmal it is, the Giants' running game is? Or how abysmal the Giants' running game is? I'll read it to you right here. Some stats I looked up. The Giants are in the bottom. I'm going to tell you, the Giants are in the bottom 5 of running. That's how bad they are, but I'm going to get into a little more in-depth detail of the running game. They are, in total yards, they are 31st in the NFL. 31st in total rushing yards, which means there's only one team that's worse than them. That's worse than them in total yards. So they're the second worst team when it comes to total yards or rushing yards. 29 in yards per attempt at 3.4. And they are 31st in yards per game, averaging about 74 rushing yards per game. And you want to know how many rushing touchdowns the Giants have this year as a team? You guys really want to know? 4. That's right. 4 rushing touchdowns on the season for the Giants. It's crazy. I mean, you're going into week 11 and you don't even have, double-digit touchdowns. Or you don't even have half of double digits. You don't even have 5. You have 4 rushing touchdowns going into week 11. You believe that? And that just shows you, because the Giants' running game has been so abysmal this year, that just shows you they're very one-dimensional on offense. They're too pass-happy, too reliant on the pass and throwing the football. And if you want to win, and we all know, if you want to win in the NFL or win a Super Bowl, you have to be consistent on both sides of the ball. You have to be consistent running the ball and throwing the ball. You have to. It's not New England where, hey, one week they throw 50 times and run it only like say 5, 6 times the whole game, but then the next week they only throw it, let's say, 20 times and they run the ball 30, 35 times and they find a way to win. That's very rare that it happens. You have to be consistent on both sides because let's say one day, your passing game is not good enough. You're playing a great defense. Let's say like the Seahawks, like a Vikings, even though they spiraled out of control, or that team has spiraled out of control. You gotta run the football. That's your that's what that's your only way of being successful. It's not the only way, but you have to if you want to be consistent and you want to make the playoffs and win in the playoffs, you gotta be consistent and you gotta be leveled. Fair amount of passing, fair amount of running. And we all know, with OBJ and his antics and players getting inside his head mental and throwing him off his game, and he's not having a good and let's say he's not having a good game, that's going to take him out and your passing game is going to it's going to go down. It's going to go down. But if the Giants just do those two things, win on the road, establish a running game, they will make the playoffs. And Ben McAdoo seems like he's a good coach. He knows what he's doing. I know it's only his first year, but he's had experience. He's worked with Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. He trusts Eli, and Eli statistically has had tremendous success with Ben McAdoo as the offensive coordinator for the Giants the last 2 years, and even this year. He's not throwing as many turnovers as he did in years past. And the offense, the Giants can score a lot of points. There's no disputing that, but they got to run the ball. Can't be one-dimensional in this league. You can't. Doesn't work that way. And with that being said, that concludes our second segment.